And that's why people like me and you that have been through it, we understand what it feels like. So you do have a different level of empathy and I suppose passion to want to help those people, because all you need to do is take yourself back to that place that you were and that person you were when you were living with your perpetrator. Just that little reminder to think, actually, no, I don't want to go back there. So why should someone else have to live through that too?
Hey, it's Cheryl, and welcome to Secrets of a Survivor podcast, where I'm sharing my story, my challenges, and my learnings along the way, both business and personal. Basically, all the things. If I can do it, then so can you. So I'm here to help you on your way and be the person I wished I'd had. So let's get started with today's episode. Hello and welcome to today's episode, where I am joined by a friend of mine called Sharon. Sharon is a fellow survivor and is doing amazing things. So I really wanted to bring her on the podcast to share her experience and a bit about her story, to give some inspiration of what is possible. So welcome, Sharon.
Thank you very much for having me today. It's great to be here.
Cool. Can you just start off with like a little overview of you and what you do at the moment, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a survivor of domestic abuse. 7 years ago, I came extremely close to losing my life, which I'm sure we will touch on in a minute. Moving on from that point, I now own two businesses. So my first business is Kameo Recruitment, which is a recruitment agency that I set up 5 years ago. To obviously do recruitment, but also to really raise awareness of domestic abuse and educate businesses. And since January this year, I've set up a second business, which is domestic abuse education, where I now educate businesses on domestic abuse and the difference they can make. So yeah, what I went through definitely did define me, but I like to think it defines me in a good way, and I'm taking the positives from my experience to help others.
No, I love that. And you've got such a great story, which is obviously why I wanted you to share that a little bit. Yeah. So I don't want to dwell on it too much, but if you can just give us a little overview of your abuse story and what happened, and then we'll talk about moving on afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, I was married. I was married to someone that I trusted, thought was someone that loved me and cared for me. And it became apparent that obviously this wasn't the case. I lived with all forms of domestic abuse, apart from economic abuse. Fortunately for me, I was one of the 5% that didn't experience the economic abuse. But it got to a point after 18 months of solid abuse, not knowing who I was going home to, what my life looked like, that I decided to leave the relationship. What I did was obviously ended the relationship. That was on a Thursday. He went to the police. He then got bailed and was released back into society. The following Wednesday, I'd gone to court to put a injunction through during my lunch hour. And that evening, I'd left work. I'd gone to the car park. Obviously, it was dark. It was November. So as you can imagine, it was dark. It was cold. Walked to my car with my colleague. Got in my car, she got in the car next to me, and we had an ongoing joke where I had a newer car, hers was older. I used to drive off because my car wasn't steamed up. You know what it's like when the inside's all steamed. But she drove off that day before me, and I sat there and thought, hold on, something doesn't feel right. So thought, hang on, okay, he's in the back seat, you know, like you see on these horror films. So I looked behind me, it wasn't there. I thought, okay, stop being silly. You've been to court, your emotions are high. And then I sat there for, I don't know, it felt like a very long time, but it wasn't. I smelled aftershave, and I thought, no, this isn't right. Why can I smell aftershave? So I put my hand behind the driver's seat, and I felt a picnic blanket in the footwell, which was in the boot of my car. I have OCD, so I know that was where it belonged. So I opened the door, went round to the boot of the car, lifted the boot up, and he was in the boot, lying there. He had knives, cable ties. And what he'd done was spent 2 days plotting what was potentially going to be my murder. He'd angle grinded through my house door to get my spare car key. He'd driven to near where I worked. He'd then gone and hidden in the boot of my car and lowered the seats. It was a hatchback. So as you know, when you lower the seats, if I'd have driven off, to be honest, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have the voice that I have. I wouldn't be able to use my voice to campaign for those that have lost their voice or are unfortunately going through it at the moment. So, it was a horrendous experience. It was like living through a horror film, but at the same time, it has made me who I am today in a very strange way. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but I think when you go through something so traumatic, you have two choices. You have to accept that it's happened. But once you accept it's happened, you can live your life how you want, and you don't have to raise awareness. But for me, it's part of my healing process that I can still continue to help others.
No, I totally get that. And I feel very similar to you in that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until somebody pointed it out to me that I realised my whole work since my experience happened has been to help others become financially independent, because I never want them in that situation again. So yeah, it's nice that we can use our experiences to help others, as you said. It's just a shame we had to go through it in the first place.
I think when you've gone through it as well, you do have a different level of understanding with people as well, which you can't get. There is just that extra piece that you can't get unless you've actually experienced it. And that's why people like me and you that have been through it, we understand what it feels like. So you do have a different level of empathy and, I suppose passion to want to help those people, because all you need to do is take yourself back to that place that you were and that person you were when you were living with your perpetrator. Just that little reminder to think, actually, no, I don't want to go back there. So why should someone else have to live through that too?
No, exactly. That's totally it. And I'm so proud of us for doing it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just then, obviously you set up your company 5 years ago. So what was the driving force behind that? Was you in recruitment beforehand, or was that something that you knew as well?
No. So I was in recruitment when I went through what happened to me. And I think after I'd rebuilt myself up again, I suddenly thought, well, what can I do? What's my network? I've always worked in the commercial world, and I realised that being in recruitment, I was speaking to the HR people, which actually they're the people that I now speak to when I'm educating businesses, for example. So I knew at the start I wanted to do something. If I'm honest, I didn't quite know where it was going to get to. Like day one, I was at Cambridge Women's Aid with a bag full of biscuits and tea and coffee for their one of their talk sessions. I think I spent £20, but I hadn't made any money. But I said, no, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to give back. So I'm starting it from day one. And it then evolved, and before COVID, I put on a presentation or a seminar, should I say, with Cambridge Women's Aid, and they spoke and did a lot of the education piece. I shared my story, and then obviously the dreaded COVID hit, and that changed the world. So at that point, I really ramped up my domestic abuse work and was able to become ambassador for two charities, so the Domestic Abuse Alliance and the Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse, which opened up more doors for me. And then I realised, actually, I do have this platform that I can use. Yes, it's a recruitment company, but I still speak to those people and start those conversations. So, Kameo's grown, and I've got a brilliant team here that are amazing at recruitment, and that's what they do. But they also buy into the same, I suppose, the culture of giving back. So on that side, they do a lot of giving back and volunteering, and I kind of head up the domestic abuse side.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. And it's great that you've been able to take that and build a business, or build two businesses now, and give back, but also support yourself as well. Because I think that's one of the big things about setting up your own business, or certainly what I found is setting up your business. It just helps you to gain that bit of control back that we've probably lost, and that independence.
Yeah.
And I take it you found that as well.
Yeah, no, I echo that 100%. I think I make the decisions. Obviously, I'm not going to lie, it's lonely as a sole director as well. I think everyone in that position would probably admit that you have a lot of different pressures on your shoulders. But ultimately, being able to make those decisions, and that's why I set up Kameo, was because I wanted to say, right, I've got this profit. I'm going to put on a free seminar for businesses to come to, or I'm going to invest in more social media around this, that and the other. So that's where obviously I needed to have my own business. But would I say I'm a risk taker? I think everyone says I am. But before I went through what I did, I always talked myself out of things. And I would say, oh, that is too risky. You know, what if it goes wrong? What are people going to think of me? What are they going to say? Whereas now I'm like, okay, I am going to make that decision. And don't get me wrong, not all my decisions in business have been amazing. I stand by them all. But I learn, I continue to learn, but I don't have that same fear of failure that I did before I went through domestic abuse. And I think that's where it has empowered me to go, actually, nothing could be as bad as that. So I'm going to do this. Not everyone is going to agree with what I do every day of the week. Of course, we're human and, you know, that's life. But I own what I do. I own what I say, and what I believe in. And that's where it has evolved. And I've been able to establish, like I say, Kameo, and in January, turning domestic abuse, the work I was doing, into its own business. That for me has been a huge achievement. And we're busy trying to, at the moment, we're putting it through CPD accreditation to actually say that people that come on the sessions will actually get a certificate to say that they've attended. So yeah, there's lots of work in the background, but yeah, it's definitely made me more of, I think, someone who just lives life, enjoys life, and just embraces every moment. But it doesn't make it easy, don't get me wrong. And I'm sure you would agree with this. You have your moments that, you know, there's triggers, there's things you will always have moments, but it's making the better moments a lot more than the worst, the ones where you are reminded of what you went through.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I actually had a moment the weekend, sat there, had a complete meltdown. Yep. See, I'm closing the business. I've had enough. I'm selling it and doing this.
Yeah.
And then, pulled myself together and...
But that's human. And I think that's the raw side of it. I think a lot of people, whether you've been through abuse or not, being a director, as I say, it is hard. And if everyone said it was easy, don't get me wrong, I have those moments where I cry and I'm like, you know, what am I doing? But it's getting yourself back into that, I suppose, routine of things, isn't it? But life is tough and it challenges people. And for us, we were challenged with domestic abuse and living through that. Other people have many different challenges, but I truly believe it's how you can't change the situation you'll be put in, but you can change the outcome afterwards.
You definitely can. And I think that's what I'm trying to highlight as well, is show that you can take that control back and you can do whatever it is you want with your life. Even if you don't know what you want right now, or it's too early to know that, you'll find it. It took me nearly 10 years to work out, actually, this is why I do what I do, and this is how I want to take it even further. So it's not like you have to know day one.
No, I honestly don't think I know most mornings when I wake up what's going to happen in my day. I'm like, I've got my diary, but it changes, and you know, different opportunities come my way, and I'm someone that just thinks, if I get asked to have a conversation with someone, I will do my very best to have a conversation, because you never know where that is going to guide you or lead you. And if anyone is listening to this that thinks, oh, you know, that person isn't worth me talking to because right now it doesn't fit. Actually, most of the relationships that I've made that have given me the platforms that I have been conversations that I've had with people that you don't know where it will go. And for example, I've been out with one of my recruitment team to a client meeting this morning, talking all things recruitment, but then mentioned the domestic abuse stuff, and we're arranging a coffee because she does training in other areas. And it was like, right, okay, let's see where that relationship can go. So I do think you do have to open some of those doors yourself as well and have a little peer around. And they're not all going to give you opportunities, but the more people you build relationships with, like me and you meeting at the Women's Day conference, you know, that was incredible. And I'm sure there'll be lots more that we'll do together moving forward from this. But it is, being grateful for opportunities and taking them when they come your way.
No, it definitely is. And that's definitely something I've learned. Kind of learned it originally when I first started out in business, but it's something I'm learning even more so now, because just speaking out as well has brought so much more connections my way, like us. Yeah. Because I think it was somebody originally connected us on LinkedIn, didn't we? We didn't really actually talk until the conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I definitely think you need to just embrace everything, have that coffee. Yeah. With Zoom these days, it's so much easier to have those conversations because you don't have to physically go out and do it to fit it into your day.
And even a 10-minute conversation, you know, that's the thing, isn't it? It just takes those few minutes just to work out if you align with someone's values. I think that's the important thing for me, is it doesn't matter what they do, who they are, where they come from, any of that stuff, but we need to have values that are aligned. And that goes with the recruitment world as well. We work with businesses that, align with our values, the same as, you know, the things that are important to us are important to them, their employee well-being, etc. But I think if you have a good network of people around you that you build that understand your passions and will help you even at the time when times are hard. And that's when you get through those moments in life, because like I say, whoever you are, you will have ups and downs. And it's surrounding yourself with those people that, I suppose, believe in you, if that's the right thing, without sounding too cheesy.
No,
they believe in your mission, and they pick you up when you are having that wobble, and continue you on the right path.
Yeah, no, totally agree there. Couldn't have said it better. Just before we finish up, I just wanted to touch on one other thing, because you wrote or put together a policy for employers, how they can help their staff and things like that. So if there are any employers listening, or somebody who has been through what we've been through and employs, then obviously I would really love to get that message out there a little bit more. So tell us a little bit about the policy and how that all came about.
Yeah. So, as I said, in COVID, obviously things changed and the recruitment world slowed down a little bit. So I was really able to focus on the domestic abuse side. And, off the back of the conversations I had prior to COVID with businesses, they'd listen to the education piece, which I do, where we talk about, the signs of abuse, how to start a conversation, how to signpost, all of the things that, a business needs to be aware of. They were like, yeah, this is brilliant, but what do we do internally next? And I was like, well, you need a policy, because policies or guidance, is what enables that business to work properly, and everyone in the business then knows what their duty of care is, and also what they can and can't do. But we know policies cost money. And that was the stopping point for a lot of these businesses, and especially in COVID, because people didn't have endless pockets of money, and they don't now, to be honest, either, with the cost of living crisis. So I worked with the Domestic Abuse Alliance, the Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse, and then HR Department, who are consultants across the UK, to build this policy. So you have the formal policy, which is the legal jargon, as I say, which has been checked over by Hogan Lovells. They're a global law firm on the employment side of things. And then there are guidance notes that go with it. So those guidance notes create a template for businesses to work with, and they give different options that businesses can do. So, for example, not every business can have a flea fund for each employee, because they can't afford it. Obviously, there are ones that do, and that is fantastic. But if you don't have a flea fund, can you offer someone flexibility? Every business, for example, can change the next of kin if it's the perpetrator very quickly. So all of these things. So we put that together. It took a lot of work and a lot of time, but it is a starting point. And when I say it's a starting point, a policy is there and it works if it's used and integrated and embedded within a business and continue to be used. So I like to think I'm the person that starts that conversation with the businesses, raises the awareness of what they need to be doing. And then I'm partnered with a lot of other charities and businesses who can talk about specific areas of abuse, and also do more in-depth consultancy with them long term as well, with their HR teams, for example. But yeah, I mean, it's been incredibly well received. And there are businesses across the UK that have implemented Sharon's policy or used it to help them with their guidance that they already have, to make sure that they've got everything included. So yeah, it's been around 2 years now. Would you believe? It's flown by. We're just doing an annual review on it as well. So we make sure that everything is up to date. So that's going through and be live in the next month again. So again, we just make sure that we are 100% up to date with everything.
No, that's brilliant. And where can we, or anyone listening, get a copy of that?
Okay, so you can get it from my website, which is www.domesticabuseeducation.co.uk. You can also get it if you are interested in becoming a member of the Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse. They're a free network to join. As I say, I'm ambassador for them and do incredible work. You can join there if you Google them. You can join on their website and become a member. It's free. And in their toolkit is Sharon's policy as well. So there's two places there that you can get it from.
Yeah, cool. I will link those details in the show notes as well for anyone who wants them. And I have become member of, is it AIDA? Is that
AIDA? Yeah.
AIDA.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So yeah, we have become policy, and we are implementing the policy as well. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will be sharing that with all of our clients as well as part of our HR consultancy business. So because I obviously want to support you and all the way.
Thank you. But like I say, the more people we reach, because you have a different network to me, and that's what it's about. It's about, one business may take it and have my education, but the people that listen, they've got family and friends. So then they'll recommend to others. And eventually, I mean, my mission is that every business in the UK should have a domestic abuse policy or guidelines in place. It's a big mission. There's many people working on it. So, between everybody, hopefully we can get that put into Parliament, that it is something that every business has to have.
Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. And yes, I definitely feel the same. They should. Every business should
absolutely
have it.
Yeah,
I will be banging that drum too. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing as well with your story and everything you're doing. It's absolutely amazing. And I think the listeners will actually really connect with you and your story. And I hope it does give some inspiration for anybody who doesn't know where to turn next as well. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
So I just wanted to quickly share something with you. My husband, James, and I are going to be running the London Marathon next year as part of Team Refuge. It's something that has been on both of our bucket lists for years, and to be part of Team Refuge and raise money for such an incredible charity is just an honour. So for those of you who don't know, Refuge provides specialist services to survivors of domestic abuse, and they also run the free phone 24-hour National Domestic Abuse Helpline, which I've got in the show notes below the details of. So if you are able to support us in any way, so either by donating or sharing our Just Giving page or just telling people about it, really, we would be so grateful. I've included the link to our Just Giving page in the show notes. Thank you so much in advance for your support. It really does mean the world to us. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you'd like more help and support, check out the show notes for links to my website, socials and YouTube channel. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to share and tag on your social posts. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a review, I'd be really grateful. Thank you so much again. I just want to leave you with this thought. You are strong, you are capable, you are lovable, and you are brave. But most importantly, you are enough. You've got this.